Now, have you ever thought to yourself, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve any of this success, or even I shouldn't make mistakes? If any of those resonate with you, you're definitely not alone. These are some of the most common recurring thoughts for people who experience what is commonly known as imposter syndrome. But here's something that might surprise you. 70% of people, yes, 7 out of 10 people experience imposter syndrome at some point in their lives. And this isn't limited to a particular group. It doesn't matter if you're a student, a CEO, or even a famous celebrity. Imposter syndrome doesn't discriminate. Welcome back to the Industry Portal, where our goal is to advance your career. Today we're tackling a topic that so many professionals face, and although it's becoming more openly discussed, it's still a mindset that impacts the lives and careers of many individuals all around the world. So whether you're starting a new job, stepping into a leadership role, or even just sharing your ideas in a team meeting, that little voice in your head might whisper, "You don't deserve this," or "Everyone's going to figure out you're a fraud." Here's the truth. You're not alone, and those thoughts are not true. Today we're going to break this all down. We'll discuss what imposter syndrome is, why it happens, how it can hold you back, and most importantly, we'll take you through actionable strategies that you can put in place today to overcome it. So let's start with the basics. Imposter syndrome is that persistent feeling that you're not good enough, that you don't deserve your success, or that you're somehow a fraud, despite all the evidence that proves otherwise. For example, let's say you've just got promoted at work. On the outside, everyone's congratulating you, celebrating your hard work on what is a fantastic achievement. But internally, you might be thinking, "They've made a mistake giving me this role. I won't be able to perform at this higher level," or "I'm not even sure I'm ready to take on this responsibility." Or perhaps you successfully landed a big client. Instead of feeling proud, you might say to yourself, "That was just luck. I probably can't do that again." Now here's the thing, imposter syndrome is incredibly common. Studies show that up to 70% of people experience it at some point in their lives. Even some of the world's most successful figures like Michelle Obama and Tom Hanks have openly shared their struggles with imposter syndrome. But here's something important to remember. Feelings are not facts. Just because you feel like a fraud doesn't mean you are one. So let's break down why these feelings show up in the first place. For many people, imposter syndrome is tied to perfectionism. Perfectionists set unrealistically high standards for themselves. They think that unless their work is flawless, it's not good enough. For example, imagine giving a presentation at work. If one slide is slightly off, you might obsess over that one mistake and forget that the rest of your presentation was excellent. Comparison is another major factor. Have you ever scrolled through LinkedIn and felt like everybody else has their life together? Post after post of promotions, awards, achievements, it's enough to make anyone feel like they're falling behind. But remember, you're only seeing the highlight reel, not the struggles or setbacks that happen behind the scenes to get there. New environments also play a big role. Starting a new job, stepping into a leadership role, or entering a room where you feel out of place can trigger imposter syndrome. When you're in unfamiliar territory, it's natural to feel like you don't belong until you prove to yourself that you do. Sometimes there are societal and cultural expectations that add to this. For example, if you're from a group that's underrepresented, you might feel an added pressure to succeed. For example, it's been widely documented that women in male-dominated industries often report higher levels of imposter syndrome because they feel like they have to work twice as hard to be seen as competent. Another example is the stereotype that leadership or seniority is inherently linked to age and experience. Young people in leadership positions often battle with imposter syndrome because they feel like they might be scrutinized or underestimated by older colleagues, which can amplify self-doubt. If we take this example, despite studies showing that leadership ability is more closely related to individual competencies than age or tenure, many young entrepreneurs and young leaders still struggle with it, despite evidence to the contrary. No matter the cause, the impact is the same. self-doubt, stress, and holding yourself back from opportunities. Imposter syndrome doesn't just affect how you feel, it affects what you do. You might hold back from applying for a promotion because you think you're not qualified, even when you are. You might avoid speaking up in meetings, worried that your ideas aren't good enough. Or you might even overwork yourself, thinking you need to prove your worth by doing more and more, leading to burnout. If any of this sounds familiar, let's talk about how to break free from this mindset. The first step to overcoming imposter syndrome is to acknowledge it. You need to recognize it when it shows up. For example, if you catch yourself thinking, I'm not good enough for this job, pause and say to yourself, that's imposter syndrome talking. When you name it, you take away some of its power. Secondly, you need to track your wins. Another powerful strategy is to start a success journal. Write down everything, however big or small, that you've accomplished. Did you recently complete a tough project? Have you landed a client recently? Did you recently get positive feedback? Write it all down. Then if you're doubting your abilities before a big meeting, revisit your success journal. It's hard to argue with written evidence of your accomplishments. Next, it's important to work on adopting a strong, positive mindset. And to do this, you need to reframe your thoughts. So instead of saying things like, I don't deserve to be here, you need to try and switch your thoughts to be more like, I worked hard to get here and I'm still learning every single day. Your thoughts shape your reality, so be intentional about how you talk to yourself. Another strategy is to talk about it. Talking about imposter syndrome with someone that you trust can make a big difference. You'd be amazed at how many people around you feel the exact same way. For example, a colleague might say, I felt that way too, which can be incredibly validating. Sometimes just saying it out loud can lighten the weight. And when you find out you're not alone, there's a degree of comfort you will get from this. Also remember that failure doesn't equal incompetence. Everyone makes mistakes. It's part of being human. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't the absence of failure. It's how they learn from the failure and respond to it. So ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Instead of wondering, what does this mistake say about me? And finally, celebrate your successes. Take time to acknowledge your achievements. Don't just brush them off as luck or timing. Own them. When someone gives you a compliment, don't just dismiss it. Instead, simply say, thank you. And here's a small tip. If you ever find yourself thinking, I don't belong here, pause and ask yourself, would I say this to a friend in my position? The chances are you'd be encouraging and supportive of them. So give yourself that same level of kindness. Imposter syndrome doesn't disappear overnight. But every time you challenge those thoughts, you track your wins, you celebrate your achievements, you take a step closer to overcoming it. And here's one final reminder. You're here because you've earned it. You've worked hard and you deserve your success. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever experienced imposter syndrome? If you have, what's worked for you? Or is it still something you're navigating? Drop your thoughts in the comments if you're comfortable to share. And hey, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more videos just like this one. If you're interested in learning more ways to overcome imposter syndrome, get in touch and visit our website, details in the description below. And as always, keep growing, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next video.